good evening. This is Community Unity Now, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and that is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and we have with us a very, very special guest, Willete Benford, Director of Reentry for the City of Chicago. Welcome, Willete.
Thank you, Trudy.
So Willete, you were appointed Director of Reentry on May 31st. Congratulations.
Yeah, do you have a mission statement for the department that you could share with us?
I do. The mission of the Office of Reentry, or the position for the Director of Reentry, is really to improve economic and social outcomes for people with records. Those that are returning into society from whether it is Cook County Jail or IDOC, to make sure that those outcomes are better than before.
And we know that you have been assessing the situation. So have you been assessing what the needs are of the people here, the re-entering citizens, and have you also been researching what works in other cities for re-entering citizens as well?
Yes, Trudy. The assessment actually took place during the Mayor's Returning Residents Working Group. We assessed a lot of the challenges that returning residents faced coming back into society. And from that assessment, there came 3 pillars out of it, which was, economic mobility, access to safe, stable housing, and access to affordable and good health care. Those are basic necessities for life. And also, part 2 of your question, have we been researching best practices in other cities? Yes, we have. We've been assessing how different cities such as Philadelphia, Boston, Washington, D.C., different cities around the state do reentry. And so reaching out on their housing components and different things like that, just seeing what best practices we can pull to implement in the city of Chicago.
So could you share with us some of these best practices, and are we able to implement in the city of Chicago?
Well, some of their best practices are, say for instance, the hiring practice. When hiring individuals with records, San Francisco has an off-limits clause, which something that transpired 7 years ago, even during the interview process and the hiring process, that's off-limits. Because if something has happened that long ago, why, and it has nothing to do with the job that you're applying for, why would that even be considered in the hiring process? Also, there are different housing models that we're looking at now, such as permanent supportive housing, so that individuals that are coming home, supporting them in their rent and supporting them with their housing while they're working, to be able to have stable housing continuously, even after the support, as long as they have a livable wage. A lot of times we talk about minimum wage being a livable wage, but we all know that's not true. And so having a job with a livable wage and also support with housing would set an individual up for success.
So I guess that in order for the returning citizens, even any citizens, they would need to be have support and training. We noticed that you did discuss before about having paid training for re-entering citizens.
Having a what training?
Paid training for re-entering citizens.
Trainings. Yes. That's in any. I think, especially with returning residents that are coming home that have no income, if there's a training going on, you need resources to get to the training. You need resources to pay for whatever the training requires you to use as far as tools or equipment. And so when you pay someone for that training, you're investing in them. And so a lot of times the investment isn't made in someone initially, which it causes great discouragement because some returning residents have children. You have to pay for childcare. You have to pay for many different things. And without any paid training, it's like figure out how to get there the best you can. And that's rather discouraging, especially with the cost of getting to places here in the city.
These are critical resources, health and healthcare services, employers willing to pay livable wages and offer paid training and stable housing for reentering citizens. How long does your program last? How long will you continue providing these resources?
This is not a program, Bill. First of all, the Director of Reentry office is really designed to pull city government agencies that provide these services into a coordinated strategy so that there will not be so many gaps and spaces for people that are coming back into society, so that it would be a seamless process for someone that is reentering to be able to access these resources. So there are different agencies that provide these resources. What I want to do as the Director of Reentry, and part of my position is to assess where the gaps are so that there's a coordinated strategy, because inadvertently, a lot of times with city agencies, and maybe just not on purpose, have worked in silos. And the silos have created gaps in the resources that are available for returning residents. So if we close those gaps, those silos, and we begin to work together in a coordinated way, then individuals that are coming back will be able to access those resources through a seamless process, if that makes sense.
It really does, because then the returning citizens, residents don't have to get the runaround, because they'll need this, and then they'll be asked to go somewhere else, and it's very discouraging if they don't have resources and they can't find what they need.
Yes, and like I said, I think a lot of them have been created unintentionally because everyone is doing so much work. For a city the size of Chicago, every agency and sister agency is doing the work, but being able to do the work collectively would make this much easier for all of us. And so that is part of the process from my office, is to make sure that we all on the city level, as citizens, as servants that serve the citizens of Chicago reentering here in the city, that we come together in a uniform way so that we can make sure that individuals have the best resources and most seamless process possible.
Could you share with us some of the challenges in helping the various agencies work collectively? I know that there are silos, but are there any other challenges that you could share with us?
Well, I think even in that, it would be unfair to say that there are still challenges, because we're currently coming together to be able to create this coordinated process. So I think that most city agencies will be on board to support this population, because many of them are already doing the work anyway. And so any way to make all of our work easier, I am certain that majority of the city agencies, and pretty much all of them that are doing reentry work, will be part of that coordinated process.
So are the other city agencies not involved yet? Are you in the process of putting it together? Is there an approval? Are they approved? How does this work?
Well, it's good that you asked, Bill, because our mayor has a Interagency Reentry Council, which is made up of many city agencies and sister agencies, and we will have our first meeting tomorrow.
And how do the meetings work?
The meetings, we will come together, we will discuss the roadmap and all of the things that led up to this day, from the assessment that we made through the returning residents working group. Also, all the things that we've been pulling together for the last month and a half that I've been in the office. And then we will discuss how we can all come together and begin to work together in a coordinated strategies. There will probably be people that are more involved with the reentry process than others, but we pull everyone together, whether it is CDOT, CDPH, Department of Housing, DFSS, many agencies that are already doing the work, but also other agencies that will get involved in the work, because this is a whole of government approach. And to have a whole of government approach, you pull those city agencies together so that we can figure out who does what and who's doing the work and how we can collaborate to do it more effectively together.
It seems as if this has never happened before, so
No.
it's a paradigm shift. How often will you be meeting?
We will be, go ahead and finish, Trudy.
The Interagency Reentry Council, how often will you be meeting?
We will be meeting bi-monthly. And in the interim, there will be others that will be a little bit more involved in the work. And so those that are more involved in the work in the off months, we will come together and collaborate on best practices and how we can make sure that the returning residents' experience is a good experience and they're accessing those resources that are available.
How hard is it to find employers that are willing to pay for paid training or a livable wage?
Well, I don't think that it is hard to find an employer that will pay a livable wage, because employers pay people livable wages all the time. So what I would say is that an employer that is unwilling to invest in someone with a record simply because they have a record speaks volumes. So when you have an employee and you don't invest in their development, or you don't invest in their leadership development, then any corporation or any employee wants to invest in their employer wants to invest in their employee excelling, because it will help the company or the business to excel. And so just because you hire someone without a record does not mean they are going to be a good employee. And when you hire someone with a record doesn't mean they're not going to be a good employee. And so being willing to look and see the skills, although sometimes they may be raw, what would you be willing to do to invest in people? And so I think that the question is, what employers are willing to invest in people, whether they have a past or not, and make sure that they invest in them in a significant way so that they will be an asset to their business or their company.
Mm-hmm. Have you already discussed a strategy for communicating or outreach to these different, private companies for employing at the living wage?
Well, those are conversations that will take place, and some will be taking place soon. However, with a platform like this, why not? Why not say, to hire people with a record, is an investment in people? Because just like I said, even with housing, there's no guarantee that you will get a good tenant just because your tenant doesn't have a record. And there's no guarantee to say you'll get a bad tenant just because someone has a past record. So those are all things that we have to be willing to look at. It is the discrimination and the mindset that we have about someone with a past or a record, that they are not worthy of housing, livable wage, affordable health care, simply because they have a record. And that makes no sense.
are you working with any nonprofits or organizations to help bring the employers and the returning residents together? Because we at the Chamber, we're always doing job fairs, and we love helping people get employed. So, we would love to help with that.
So you're making an offer, right, Trudy?
Yes, it's official.
You're offering to pull employers together with this untapped pool of potential.
Yes.
Exactly. And, we are open to having conversations about how we can have a partnership with people that are really interested in this specific population, because regardless to whether we acknowledge it or not, people are returning back into society. Now, as a city, we can either set them up for success or be partners in setting them up for failure. Because and I would rather be someone that sets people up for success, because the success speaks to the city being successful, and the people and citizens in the city also being invested in people being successful. Because when people come back into society, it's hard enough, but they have families, they have, children, they have family members that they may be taking care of. And to completely put barriers there for them not to be able to be successful is very, very harmful. And we have to think about, why is the harm still there? And we have to think about the root cause of the harm that has been perpetuated for generations, that will continue to X people out of opportunities. And what we want to do is create those opportunities and make sure that people are able to access them.
So the root cause, you would say, maybe are systemic. That would be poverty, that would be lack of education and opportunities?
I would say that it is poverty. I would say that it is systemic racism. I would also say that disinvestment in certain communities, and then criminalizing poverty. And most individuals in those communities have a early encounter with law enforcement. And so that early encounter with law enforcement continuously it really is a pipeline to them going into the carceral system. And so with resources in those communities, just like with Invest Southwest, and also investing in communities that have historically been disinvested in, we're saying that we understand, we see it, we know it, we've known it for a long time, but now we're addressing it. And to address those issues and make sure that people are invested in, and those communities are invested in, it says that now we care. And we want to make sure that you see, we see.
Are there any returning residents that are talking with you now, and that you're already working with?
Repeat that, Trudy.
The returning residents, do you have returning residents who are consulting with you now, and that you're working with as you're trying to shape this collaboration between the agencies?
Absolutely. We have a returning residents working group that we will continue to convene, that this roadmap to success, which you are able to find on the website, on the city's website, is a blueprint that was designed by individuals that were formerly incarcerated, government officials, faith leaders, community leaders. And these are the individuals that we continue to consult with as we go forward, because it's difficult to make decisions about us without us. And so when you begin to shape reentry services, how do you shape reentry services and resources without returning residents? And most people know that those who are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, but normally furthest from the resources and power. Mm-hmm. And so as you begin to shape things about people, you need the community's input on that so that they can tell you what they need.
What skills did you bring to your work as a Director of Reentry from your former position at Live Free, Illinois?
Well, I would hope I brought the ability to be a team player, be diplomatic in situations that may not always sit well with me, but be able to pull people together, be a bridge builder, and also be someone that speaks out about what may work and what may not work, but also be willing to listen to make sure that I hear what's being said and be able to assess it in a way that will benefit the returning residents in the best way possible.
How do you find stable housing for returning residents?
That is something that is one of the biggest challenges, but just like anyone else, you know, returning residents need housing in order to flourish and succeed. So having landlords that are willing to rent to individuals with a past or a record has been a challenge, but what we want to do is be able to create a model so that we can provide housing for individuals. And that is an ongoing process. And that is something that we're working through right now. We're actually talking through different models to see what would work best for the city and what would work best for the city to invest in so that returning residents isn't a homeless population that is overlooked.
So what you're saying is that the city of Chicago would be the landlord. It would try to provide housing for the returning residents who cannot find housing in the normal market.
No, I'm not saying that the city of Chicago would be the landlord. I'm saying that the city of Chicago would invest in that type of housing, in different type of housing models.
I'm very interested to see what your solutions are as you continue on with the council. We in Rogers Park, we have a tent city in Toohey Park. We have a homeless community in Rogers Park, and citywide there are so many people who are homeless. We need to find a solution to this issue, and because housing is a human right, and people deserve better. A lot of people are saying not in my backyard, but you know what? These people should have their own backyard, and I really do appreciate the work that you're doing, and I'm really looking forward to learning what the solutions you come up with the council.
And you know, Bill, thank you for that. And you know, there are people in the city that have been doing this work for years, you know, and those are the people that we want to be able to say, this is also what I've been working on, and working on that. Now that we have a whole of government approach, it will be much more easier for me to work on this issue when I have partnership and others that come together with me to move it forward. And I think that we all know that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with a team. And so this whole of government approach, my hope is that it would be a team that is committed to reentry and public safety.
We've interviewed different individuals and groups before that try to address housing as an uptown. If these individuals would love to work with you, could they contact you and then be part of the discussion as well?
Now, you said they are doing what in Uptown, Trudy?
I've interviewed some individuals that have tried to help with housing for like decades in Uptown, and then I think that those individuals would love to discuss their experiences with you, and then be able to share their experiences with you, so that you could see what happened, and that how things could be different now that we have you in this position. And it would be so helpful if you're able to have a discussion with those individuals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
I would love to.
okay, thank
And
you.
that's how we bring solutions. We listen to the community, you know, because a lot of the solutions that have been done or thought about that didn't work, I really believe that many of them came from making decisions about that population without that population. And so, like you said, having that conversation with individuals that have experienced something and then have a solution for it, we are open to hearing them.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much, Willete. Could you share with us some of the mental health and the healthcare services? Are these services the city-provided services that you are bringing into the so that all the agencies collaborate? Is that what you're talking about, like the healthcare and the mental health care services?
When I talk about the healthcare and mental health care services, CDPH has a great team, and the mayor has just allocated $89 million to mental health services across the city. And within that, there are free clinics all over the city. And having those free clinics, what we are in discussion with CDPH is to make sure that there are mental health services and comprehensive services for returning residents, because the mental health piece is really key to success, especially when someone is reentering society and feeling overwhelmed by everything that has to take place and the discouragement that may come. Being set up with a therapist upon reentry and having that person to help navigate, or having that place to decompress throughout the reentry process, not just for the short term of saying they just reentered, so for 2 to 3 months, but long term. And having someone that you can talk to, someone that you can work through issues with and know that it is private, is huge and key to an individual's success. So CDPH is really, their team is amazing, and they are really looking at how can we shape that so that it'll be specifically geared toward those who are reentering, because there is a different type of trauma with being incarcerated. And so coming back into society, being able to deal with that trauma and also being able to be set up for success because you have a place to decompress.
Do you know if the Chicago Department of Public Health is referring to increasing the number of mental health clinics, or is it increasing the resources of the health clinics that exist?
Bill, I'm almost certain that it said that there should be a mental health clinic in all 77 communities by a certain date. Now, I can't say which date, but there is supposed to be a mental health clinic, if I'm not mistaken, in each community going forward.
And with the mental health practitioners, would they be able to link their patients with the city services? Because you're trying to bring all the agencies together, so their patients might need different things. You know, like you said, every patient, every returning resident has a different set of needs. Would the mental health specialists also be able to be a conduit for those city services?
And that is something that we're still working through with CDPH. But as of now, mental health services are available to every citizen in Chicago, regardless of income or whether you have any healthcare insurance. You can access mental health services now in the city of Chicago for free.
So in other words, returning residents now are able to access these services right away.
Absolutely.
Well, Willete Benford, thank you so much for joining us on Community Unity Now. You gave us so much information, such encouraging information. And this is Bill Morton. I am Trudy Leong. Thank you so much for joining us on Community Unity Now. And be safe and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy.
Thank you.